Glad everybody survived the storm the last couple of weeks. Hope no one had any significant damage other than maybe losing a few tree limbs. Okay. I have a few things that I would expect that most of you already know about, but just in case you don't. On Friday, June the 21st, City Council member Victoria Thorne Myers is having I guess you would call it is hosting a meeting, and that meeting is at the Vandergrift Park Center. From Friday, June the 21st at 5:30 to 7:30, and it's for bicycle safety tips, mainly for kids, and for water safety tips, the Arlington Aquatic here. We talked a couple of times about code rangers. Kelly Marvel's holding a code ranger meeting training session here on June the 26th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock here. So if you want to be a code ranger or renew your training, here's where to be on the 26th. And another meeting is a come and go meeting that the city is holding is Thursday, June the 27th in the Lake Arlington branch library. It has to do with the watershed into Lake Arlington.
I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Okay. So mainly it has to do with those creeks that flow in Arlington that flow into the lake. And particularly on that south side, we've got a couple of them. You've got some in the area there. Okay. Also, our next WeCAN meeting will be in September the 17th. Remember, that is a Tuesday because this room was taken on some internal meeting on that third Monday, so it's on Tuesday, September the 17th, and no, I do not know who our guest speaker is going to be. Yeah.
Will it be here?
It'll be here. Yeah, we try to meet here. If we can't do it later, thing, we always strive to keep it as normal as we can. Tonight, we're proud to have City Manager Trey Yelverton here. I know all of you know who Trey is and some of his history. He and I have been on various committees together way back when he was not city manager. I remember all the things that were on back when he was a deputy city manager. I think he was department head, but even when I started. And so it's been interesting to see the progression for me. I won't try to go over all his history, but I was very pleased when we needed a city manager when Hoverson left, that they made him interim city manager, and when they made him permanent, that was, for me, and I think a lot of others, that was very good. So Trey?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to come visit with you tonight, and really I just thought we'd have a conversation about a variety of things. Glenn asked me I said, what are you going to talk about? He says, whatever you think is important. So as city manager, and if you followed me too, you've watched my hair start to turn a little grayer, so there's lots of things that are important. So what I'll try to do maybe is just hit on a couple of high-level themes that I would tell you to kind of pay attention to and hopefully watch. And then really, hopefully the latter part, we can have a conversation about things you want me to pay attention to and watch, and I can tell you about how we handle things certain ways and why we don't, based on whatever your perspective may be. When I talk to folks, there's a couple of themes that pop up that people want to know about. One of those is roads and road construction. And if you can help me with a little bit of perspective, how many of you guys pay attention to things like via social media. How many like Facebookers or Twitterers do I have? About half, maybe. How many people are on, will if they've got a question about city stuff, they'll kind of go to the city website to try to figure out what the answer may be. Okay, all right. That's good, that's good. We are investing a lot of our time and energy, as you can imagine, into social media and digital information. And I would tell you that just as me, I've gotten to the point now, if I ever have a question, the first place I'm going is to Google, to kind of try to figure it out. And I would encourage you that if you've got business interest with the city about what's going on, I'd encourage you to go to our city website, because if it's not on the website, it probably should be. And I could take that suggestion and we could put that information on there. We have recently completely redone our city's website. I encourage you to visit. It's got a lot of information. And the very first thing it has is a really big search bar on it. It's right in the middle. It's not hidden up in the corner, and whatever you want, if you just type it in there, you want crime stats, you want road construction, you want code compliance, whatever that is, type it in there and it'll take you to where you need to go. And of course, there's a lot of pull down menus and stuff like that. So as soon as you kind of get used to it, hopefully it's intuitive, hopefully it's easy to use. But I always tell people sometimes when we're talking about websites, we all organize our sock drawers just a little bit different, right? And so what looks logical to a web designer might not look logical to any of us in the room. We're trying to be intuitive, but maybe hadn't totally hit the home run.
What is it?
It's Arlington, www.arlingtontx.gov.
Thank you.
And it's supposed to work on phones and on iPads the same way it does on your computer screen. So it's scalable and changes its look based on all that. But it's a lot of good information there about what we do, how we do it, and really what I would really encourage you to, for those of you who are Facebookers and Twitter and Instagram people and YouTubers, try to sign up to be a subscriber to the city's information. Arlington City Hall, Arlington Police, Arlington Parks and Recreation. We are pushing a lot of information out via those channels, almost 3 to 5 stories a day, about a video a day that we'll put to YouTube that's highlighting road construction or neighborhood improvement or some other thing that's going on in town. So we're pushing out a lot of information. That's the good news. The bad news is we're not 100% aligned to where people are consuming that information. The mayor likes to talk a lot about how there's no newspapers in town anymore, and really the TV stations don't ever come over here the way they used to. And so how do we get the word out to our residents about what's happening in town? And what I can tell you is we're definitely putting the word out, but what we haven't found is that basket where everybody is, because there's this fragmentation of where people get their news now. Some of you like Twitter, some of you like Facebook, some of you like Instagram, some of you still like the old newspaper. And we're trying to cover all those channels, if you will. But part of us is I need you looking for us as much as we're trying to find you, so that hopefully somewhere we're meeting up and you can see the information coming about what we're trying to talk about. So from a communications perspective, we really, honestly, we've got an award-winning communications department. Every year they're bringing home tons of trophies, both nationally and statewide, as far as pushing out information. But if you didn't hear it, it's still, it's kind of like that whole, did the tree fall in the forest, did it make a noise? It did. I need you to hear what we're talking about, and I've got to find you where you're at. So if you can help me connect those dots, that's great. And just follow us on any of those social things, or check our website. And if you've got any real suggestions, feel free to send them my way of what we need to talk more about. So like last week, I got a suggestion. It's West Nile virus season, right? It's about the time that not only are mosquitoes going to start showing up, but the kind that carry the West Nile virus are going to start showing up, and they're going to start showing up in our traps. And we're trapping and have been trapping since March. And our practice is when we find a mosquito trap that has a West Nile infected mosquito, we come out and we give the neighborhood notification, and we spray in a targeted area around that neighborhood. And so we had a pretty good conversation, because what wasn't on our website was what we spray. What's the chemical? What are the warnings as it relates to it, et cetera. And so One of the things we did after that meeting is we came back and amended our West Nile virus page, mosquito control page, and we added that 4-page, highly detailed information. It's a real easy thing to do. It's there. Now people know what it is, and if they've got concerns, they can express those. So,
And I think you can opt out of it too.
and you can opt out. And so a follow-up question that I got is, if I want to opt out, how do I do that? How do you know that you've opted out? And the answer is, on our mosquito control trucks, they're GPS tracked, and the address is embedded in the GPS deal, so it knows as it drives by whatever address is opted out. The sprayer stops. When it gets past it, it picks back up. And in a way, honestly, years ago, we tried to avoid mosquito spraying because in some ways it really is kind of blowing smoke, because you really have to have a mosquito come in direct contact with the mist. And the mist, when it's going down the street, it's going to be there and it's going to migrate a little bit, but it's not necessarily migrating back into creeks and channels and those kinds of things. So it's, in my mind, marginally effective. But when people, years ago, 8-10 years ago, when we were first getting into this, one year we had 53 people that contracted West Nile or neuroinvasive West Nile, and I think that year we had 6 fatalities in town. So it's a thing that over time people wanted us to do that, so we started taking a look at options, and that's where we're at now. But that's just one kind of example. So road-wise, though, on the city's webpage, I get this question a lot. How come we're doing this road or that road? And we put out a lot of information. You can go to our street page or our public works page, and we actually grade every street in town every 3 years. And I call it my green, yellow, red map. And so every street in Arlington is looked at every 3 years, and the data is updated in a comprehensive map that I was going to show you, but you can find it on the website. And green streets are, as you would expect, they're in good shape. This should be pretty good. Yellow streets are ones that probably need a little more maintenance. And the red streets, anybody know how much red streets I've got in town? If you look at my total inventory, what you've got to guess on how many streets are in kind of a red or failing condition? 50?
25.
That's too much, and that's wrong.
25.
Yeah, that's about
Actually,
25.
it's about 9 to 10%. So 9 to 10% of our streets are in a failing condition, which means it needs to be rebuilt. And the way we rebuild streets is through a bond program. We go to you all every few years and we ask for street money to rebuild the streets. And hopefully every year, which we have been, we get a little better, a little better, and a little better, and a little better to where there's less red. And then we try to keep the green as green as we can, as long as we can, and the yellow, trying to keep it as yellow as we can before it goes to red. But that map I always find very interesting because our information is data-driven. I don't just pick to do Randy's street because I like Randy, right? We're looking at, I might like Randy, but if he's got a red street, then that's what we're going to do. We're really not going to green streets that need a little bit of extra work. So it's data information that's taking us where we are. We also on our website, if you ever want to drive by and you want to know what orange barrels are, where they are, we've got maps that show you, if you click on that street, it'll show you what the project is. It'll show you what's been completed, what we're working on now, and what's coming. A lot of detail, and we've got it in simple bite sizes, and we've got it in very detailed bite sizes, depending on what your interest level may be. So my father drives around in town. He likes to say, "What are you doing over on Bowen Road?" And all that kind of. And sometimes I know, sometimes I don't. But I'm able to pull up a web page, and I'll show him here's the story, and here's why we're doing this or that. If it's us, and sometimes it's not us. Sometimes it's Atmos or Encore or AT&T. But a lot of residents, sometimes they just see a truck and they see guys invest and they just assume it's the city. And most of the time it is, but not all the time, so it just depends. But plenty of road information, and we're investing sizably. We're investing about $50 million a year in rebuild of streets and another $15 to $20 million a year in maintenance of streets. So good $60 to $70 million a year going into your street network, trying to make it smoother and safer. So that's a big thing. One of the things I want to show you too, and I heard Glenn talk a little bit about it here at the beginning real quick, so let me pass this around. It's another little interesting topic, and that's drainage and stormwater and erosion is something that a lot of people are very interested in Arlington. So these are some maps of what we call watersheds in town. And kind of like, watersheds, they just kind of follow gravity. We've got several continental divides in Arlington, and it doesn't follow city limits. Some of these watersheds, kind of the Upper Village and the Rush Creek area, they're actually feeding from Joshua and Burleson all the way this direction. So some of the things I can help, but I can't control because we're part of a regional system. But when you look at a map, and we always probably know a little bit about Johnson Creek and a little bit about Rush Creek because over the years those have received the most attention. But we've actually got 10 different watersheds in the city, and this is how they lay out. The good news is, in the last handful of years, the city has gone into each of these watersheds and done comprehensive engineering analysis on the condition of these streams and the needed improvements to protect homes from flooding, structures from flooding, as well as how we might be able to look at doing some erosion protection in certain areas. Our priority